Welcome back to the Patrick Lane Show, where we talk about personal finance, investing, and real estate. And today, do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. We really appreciate your help in growing the channel, and we couldn't thank you more. So guess what? Today was Quadruple Witching Day. It's been talked about a lot. It was anticipated, and it was supposed to do something, right? And we even did a video a couple of days ago and talked about the factors leading up to Quadruple Witching Day, what it is, what historically happened during Quadruple Witching Day. And if you remember, it's when an index future, an index option, stock futures and stock options all expire on the same day. That happens 4 times per year. And today was the first one of the year 2021, and it was the first one that GME and AMC were in this position where there were short squeezes out there and potentially would lead to some increased action on their stock prices. Now, if you remember when we talked about it in the other video, there was one historical phenomenon that I highlighted, which was very interesting to me, and so that's why I put it in the video, obviously, and that is that the price of a stock on a quadruple witching will tend to move toward the most outstanding, the price that has the most outstanding interest in those call options. Well, for GameStop, that was obviously the $800 strike price. So in anticipation of today, we thought, number one, we would see increased volatility this week, which, you know, there was a little bit of volatility. It went up and down. It dropped a little bit at the beginning of the week and basically stayed sort of flat the last few days. But we really sort of anticipated higher volume in trading. The volume has been off all week. And as we got closer to today, the Quadruple Witching, we sort of expected that price to drift up a little bit if history was our guide. Now, what actually happened today on Quadruple Witching? Well, GameStop, flat. AMC, flat. And in fact, the Dow Jones was flat. The NASDAQ was flat. The S&P was flat. So with all of that in mind, what does that mean? Is it ding dong, the witch is dead for the quadruple witching? Or does it mean that we need to do more as investors, retail investors, to educate ourselves on not just technical analysis? And that's really what getting an idea of what was happening going into the quadruple witching was about, was looking at the technicals of a stock. Okay, technicals is how much it moved in this direction, how much it moved in that direction, how many shares are out, what is the short, what's the price action, what's the volume, what's the volatility, and making investment decisions on those parameters on sort of a minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour, day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Now that is a technical analysis, which is good. People look at that, they trade on that information sometimes, and they can make money on it sometimes. Of course, like anything, you know, they can take that information, use that information, trade on that information, and lose money as well. That's just the way the stock market goes. But also, we should be looking at the fundamentals of each of the investments that we choose to make. And so, with that in mind, we look at not just how things moved and the volume and the volatility and whether there's a quadruple witching or not, but we also look at the underlying business itself. Do we like the business? And so, obviously, we're talking mostly right now about GameStop because it is such a fascinating story the last few months, but look at the underlying fundamentals of GameStop. It is a brand that people know and love, apparently, right? It is could be a victim of the transformation from brick and mortar to digital, but the fundamentals also lead us to believe, based on Ryan Cohen's addition to the board, the changes that they've made with the committee structure, removing some of the executives and replacing them. All of these moves that they've made, and now putting out help ads for 4,000 or 5,000 employees at stores across the country. So all of these things lead us to think, you know what, the fundamentals of this company might be pretty good. Now, if you piggyback that on top of the last earnings report that came out in December of 2020, you know, the revenue was off, it missed on revenue, but the earnings per share was up. So that was a beat. That was more than what people expected when they were looking at it. And now, looking at the earnings report that is due out on March 23rd in just a few days, that's when we can really start to dive into the fundamentals of this company. Has it made a fundamental shift? Is it beginning that fundamental shift into the digital e-commerce platform that we think it could be? And we won't know that until we see the earnings report, we see the revenues, we see the earnings per share, and all those things going forward from here. So I think that it's going to be a great opportunity for us to look at the latest earnings compared to the Q3 2020 earnings and really see if anything changed. Now, of course, we're going to have Christmas sales and we're going to have that sort of holiday sales, that sort of thing, which is always anticipated, right? So even now, the earning or the revenue is expected to be way up over Q3 of 2020. So we don't know how it is going to end up, but most people think that it's going to be a higher earnings than it was in Q3, maybe leading to even higher earnings through Q1 and even into Q2 of this year. So we'll have to wait and see. We've only got a few days left, and maybe the quadruple witching was just a reminder that we can't focus solely on technicals, that if we're going to invest for the long-term value, frankly, if we're diamond hands and if we like the stock, then we ought to be looking at not just the technicals of who's buying, when they're buying, and how much they're buying, but also the underlying fundamentals of the business. Is this a good business? Does it have a good business plan, business model? Is it a transformational company that will survive the transition from brick and mortar to e-commerce? And what do the revenues look like? So those are the things we're going to be looking at in the next few days. Hopefully you guys will stick around for that. I'm excited to see what happens next week. But you know, it also is a reminder that we need to be thinking about on flat days like this in the market, right? Everything was just flat. Nobody went anywhere. Okay, we also need to remember that this channel and our investing strategy, frankly, should not be just about the technical day-to-day in the stock market or with any one particular stock. But we've got to look at indexes, we've got to look at ETFs, we've got to look at individual stocks, yes, but we also look at other asset classes like real estate. Real estate is a great example of something that's going up right now. You know, if you've looked around at house prices, they've gone up double digits in the last 6 months. So if we were holding real estate in our portfolio, guess what? We've done really well over the last 6 months. Your real estate portfolio has probably outgrown the S&P for the last 6 months without a doubt. So, and then we also look at the new asset classes that we've talked about a little bit, which are the digital assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of the cryptocurrencies. And now we've got NFTs to think about. Should they be a part of our portfolio? So those are a lot of things that we've got to keep in mind as we look at how to invest to build our wealth for the future. It's not just about the technicals of one stock. It's about how we build a portfolio that's going to get us from where we are today to where we want to be in the future. And hopefully, we're going to be able to make that journey together. So we appreciate you. Do me a favor. If you got any education or entertainment out of this video, smash the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button. Ring the little notification bell. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next video.